So this is also our new corporate ID. So it's one of the first presentations we make with it. It's a privilege here. And yeah, I wanted to start with audits and procurement here because our association is very intertwined with the procurement departments of these various chemical giants. And we really are cooperating closely with CPOs on getting the tool integrated in their company. It's a really bottom-up association. So the companies, the members, really contributed to the tool, developed it, and we're constantly updating it in discussion with the CPOs. So it's really based on what the interests are of buying departments. And you will see that in the presentation. So firstly, what we based on this audit system is on the various standards that are on the market. For environmental impact measurement, health and safety, the social and human rights part, governance, we all kind of chip together from various processes, ISO, OSAS, so health and safety, but also SA 8000 for the social and human rights part. That's widely used worldwide, is a very highly recognized standard. These are all the basis actually for our audit. So it's a very far-reaching audit on all these topics, going far beyond what we call an assessment. So often people do self-assessments. Maybe EcoVadis helps them with that. So there's also, I understood, another session on this. And we go really beyond that to create a good picture that you can take as a company of your supplier, and really map the risk in all these sections, because it's really about risk diminishing, and it's yeah, you could say in harmony with sustainability. So standard simplification is an important step here, because it simplifies the whole process. You don't need to do several things separately, ISO, OSAS, SA 8000, it all brings one thing together, so it makes it more efficient. Responsibility. You kind of, the audit provides some responsibility with our member, the company, and also their supplier. So an audit is, you could say, a starting point of a journey towards sustainability. You see what the problems are, where they need to improve, and both the initiator of the audit, which is our member who asks the supplier to take an audit, as well as the auditee, they both need to contribute to this responsibility process. And in the end, there is the sharing. So all audits are shared among the members. That's a very strong business case for us, that you can access all these audits once you are a member. And that often several suppliers, they have business relationship with several of our members, and if one is there, they only need to do the audit once, and that's enough for us. And then for the suppliers, there are also several benefits, because suddenly they are transparent in their actions, in their business performance towards several of possible customers. And the fact that they've done an audit for our members means that they really want to improve themselves, and they in 2-3 years they really want to be a responsible business. And having these the auditor on board to help them, it kind of helps them minimize any risks that there can be from procurement perspective. And yeah, so the audit is efficient. It's what I said in the slide before, that they don't need to take into account several other audit schemes. Here for us, everything comes together, and it's a very encompassing standard. So that helps them to save time and resources and avoid multiple audits. And in the end, such an audit opens the door for other business relationships with other members or non-members. They are free to show the audit to anyone who wants to do business with them, because it is actually the supplier who owns the audit. So they pay for the audit, they own it, and so they need to be also responsible for it. So they can market it in the way they want, and it is becoming a stronger standard. More and more companies are joining us, so the value of such an audit is increasing. As you can see, this is only an overview of most of our members. Not all are there, I think, but this is the most recent number of turnover and spend, so you can see that it's quite an amount. And I also wanted to give you a bit more information about the proceedings of such an audit. I don't think it was in such detail in the slides you already got, so I think it's an opportunity for me to give you a bit more details of how does an audit look like, what does it entail. So it's typically 1 to 3 business days that it takes. Most of them, 80%, I would say, is 2 business days. Audit fees, that's a very regular questions we receive from suppliers. How much does an audit cost? Well, there is no global fee for an audit, because every country has a different payment for consultants. So the auditor is a consultant, and every nation, every country has different rates for that. It could be that Switzerland, it costs 10 times more than in India. So that's why we don't really put a specific audit fee on an audit. I think other organizations do that, but we chose not to do it because we want to make the market competitive. We have 4 audit companies that compete on each country to be able to provide an audit. So in this way, we can also keep the prices competitive for our suppliers. So it's then the supplier who picks an auditor based on their fee and also the trust they have, and schedules an audit in the months to come. The auditors are typically pre-approved by us because it's for the chemical industry. It's a very narrow knowledge area. So if you're going to audit a chemical site somewhere in Bahrain or in India, you need to know what the dangers are, but also specifics for the country itself. So our auditors that the 4 companies use, this is Intertek, ERM, DQS, and SGS, they're handpicked by us. So we all know who is doing the audit. As I said in the previous slide, there is also a member that nominates a supplier for an audit. So they can also be present on that audit as a witness. They have their own checklist. They can go through the audit. So to see how things are going and make directly their conclusions on the spot if they want to for further business relations. And in the end, the supplier can always contact the auditor for further questions, how to improve, because the auditor knows the local situation, what works best. So there is always a close collaboration between supplier and auditor before and after the audit. And of course, the auditor always speaks English because they need to communicate with us, but also the local language. So many of our audits are bilingual. So if you have most of our audits are in Chinese. So we have bilingual English-Chinese findings that come up, and that both the member and the auditee understand. So that was in a nutshell how the details of an audit look like. What I wanted to add is here are the 5 big fields of what are the audit topics. You see that maybe in your slides as well. What I wanted to add is there's also mining specific questions. So we have developed for our members that are also active in the mining industry, very specific mining questions. And here, that's even more specialized. We really need to scrutinize the auditor before if they know how to handle a mining audit, because it entails a lot of more details, more risks. So it takes at least 3 days, such a mining audit. But at least it brings, as well as in the other audit, all standards together. Also the mining specific ones. And yeah, helps to give some transparency in the mining supply chain. And since beginning of 2020, when the pandemic started, we saw a decrease in audits because companies closed down or auditors could not access them. So we started to develop, in cooperation with our audit companies, the so-called remote audits. So an auditor can inspect, in this case, a factory from behind his desk using a tool, as you can see here on the picture. So they send this kind of strap to the factory and assign a colleague from the factory to walk around on site with this. It seems quite successful. We had some projects all over the world where this is applied, and most of the feedback is very positive. And it's so you have this part, but then you have the document review. So a large part is looking into payment sheets, records, or attendance records, all these kind of things. So this is done also over Zoom and Teams. Worker interviews, very important for the social and human rights part of an audit, is then done over Zoom or Teams or any other tool that works. And here, optimal preparation is really the key, because a remote audit can only be functioning when it's well prepared. Often people say it's money saving. Yes, it costs less because you don't have to pay the auditor transport costs, but it takes a lot more preparation than a normal audit. Good. I think I stayed within my 15 minutes. So I think it's a bit more clear how our audit system works and what the benefits are. So I'm happy to hear your questions.
Yeah, no, thank you,